At 18, I discovered self-improvement, and honestly for a while, I felt like I had direction. I was training, reading, building routines, waking up early, and people noticed. They complimented the discipline. It felt like proof that I was on the right path, but it only took a year for me to realize that something had shifted. I couldn't enjoy anything without justifying it, couldn't rest without calling it recovery. I couldn't have a conversation that didn't feel like it had to be productive and intentional. Self-improvement stopped becoming something that I did, and it became part of who I was. And at the time, stepping away for a day felt like I was being a failure. Now I'm 22, and with a bit of distance from that, I could see what I couldn't see then. Like self-improvement, it gave me answers before I learned how to ask my own questions. So in this video, I want to talk through how it happened, when it helped, when it became an identity, and the traps I didn't realize I was falling into. I think a lot of people, especially those in the late teens and early 20s, are in the same place right now, and I want to share what I wish I had known then. I think we live in a more divisive time than ever. Not because we disagree more, but because disagreement no longer challenges us. Actually, it reassures us. We surround ourselves with stuff that we like to hear and information that confirms us. We don't have friction anymore, and it's just all quiet. And the unsettling part about it is that it doesn't feel imposed. It feels like it's been chosen by us. Like, when was the last time an opinion that you disagreed with actually made you stop and think? Social media platforms no longer show you your interests. They reinforce your values. At first it's harmless, fitness content, recipes, routines, all that type of stuff. But when it's applied to your beliefs and the way you actually live, something changes. Opinions stop being tested and they start feeling rehearsed. And the algorithm itself doesn't force this. It makes it feel so easy and frictionless. Like how much of what you believe feels chosen, and how much of it just feels familiar. And that was the question I didn't know that I needed to ask myself, because for a long time, I thought I was choosing everything. I didn't grow up chasing discipline, self-improvement, habits, and everything. I grew up doing martial arts. It gave me structure quite young and early, and routine was just there. To be honest with you, I was pretty ambitious and independent from the get-go. So self-improvement in itself wasn't an identity. And I had structure without really thinking about it. But I didn't realize that that part of me wasn't going to last. I started losing something which was important to me, my fitness and my overall health. I was weighing nearly triple digits in body weight, and I felt so disconnected from who I actually was. And I remember so vividly that the desire to change then wasn't actually from me wanting to be a better person, but it was me not wanting to be the person that I am today, which is what I think a lot of you go through when you start self-improvement, because you don't want to be in the position that you're at right now. At first, it was the gym, purely physical, movements, and feeling like myself again. And I could see the progress, I was adding weight on the bar, losing kilos on the scale. I liked how the clothes that I was wearing could fit me, but it still felt separate from who I was. It was something I enjoyed to do, until the algorithm started connecting the dots, and the gym content slowly started leading into habit videos, and the habit videos leaned more into productivity creators, and each one sounded better and more enjoyable than the last, more certain than the last, and more engaging than the last. And they all seemed to be saying the same thing. You're capable of doing more, you're capable of achieving more, you're capable of this and this and this and that. I remember watching creators like David Goggins and Ali Abdaal, creators that wanted you to be a better version of yourself. They kept showing you that you were actually capable of just doing more. I started watching this content repeatedly all the time, and the ideas were piling up on me a lot more than I could question them. And sooner or later, the decisions didn't become optional. They became a philosophy and just a way to be living. And then I found the book Think Like a Breadwinner by Jennifer Barrett. It felt like I was discovering a hidden curriculum, a secret source to being your better self. One that explained everything and made it seem as if you could genuinely have everything put together. And it felt like that book found me at the perfect time. And once I felt ready and the ideas actually started making sense, there was no going back. Self-improvement stopped becoming a tool I picked up, and it became a lens through which I saw everything. Discipline wasn't just useful, it was moral. Optimization wasn't optional, it felt like a responsibility. And the thing is that when you go through that stage of self-improvement, people compliment you. They say, wow, you're so disciplined, you're so driven, wish I had your drive. And it feels good. It feels like proof, and it feels like you're on that right track. But you also fall into the trap of feeling like once you start doing it, you just have to keep on going. You have to maintain it. You have to keep that bar, because you don't want to lose that status, that level of appreciation, that pride. And that's when it became my new identity. Every creator I followed was reinforcing the same values, becoming your better self and looking out for that. And honestly, the disagreements against that didn't feel like a challenge. It felt like a distraction. I wasn't exploring any other ideas anymore. I knew this was the one. I kept rehearsing the same things over and over and over again. And I remember waking up early at about 4 a.m. feeling like routine. It was joyous because I felt like, oh yeah, you start to feel better than people because you're up at the time when no one up is up. You're grinding when no one else is. And I remember being in the gym, you know, there was always that 5 a.m. club. The same guys, the same spirits, hyping each other up. And it just felt like that was the solution to life. And stepping away from it, even for a day, felt like a failure. And if you're on that path of self-improvement now, I want you to think about whether or not it still feels optional, whether or not it feels like a lifestyle, whether or not it feels like an identity, and whether or not you feel like you'd be wasting your life if you went on the path towards self-improvement. But sooner or later, I started realizing that I actually wasn't thinking for myself. And it was only when I started seeing that a lot of self-improvement creators were just talking about opposing opinions and making it seem as if that was right. Whether it was keto versus carnivore versus a balanced diet, it was all in favor of one or the other. 5 a.m. wake-ups, but you're sleeping at 12 in the morning versus sleep optimization and getting 10 hours of sleep, journaling versus meditation or doing both. Everything felt like this was the thing to be doing. You know, everything felt like it needed to be more important than it actually was. Conversations that didn't lead somewhere felt wasted. Mistakes needed to teach something. Enjoyment needed justification. From that, I learned how to move forward and keep going, but I wasn't really present and enjoying the moment as well as I should be. I thought that self-improvement was supposed to help me enjoy my life, but it just put me on a rail to keep going and not look at where I was. The sooner or later you start to realize that it's just the same ideas in different voices. Discipline, systems, habits. Discipline, systems, habits. Like, it's useful, but it's so recycled, and you just start consuming more, thinking less. The recommendations keep coming, but then like you start realizing that they stop surprising you. You know, I could actually just see what they were about to say before they even said it. I could see that they were about to tell me to get off my ass before I could even do it. And I realized that, you know, you don't even learn anymore. You just remind yourself of the same things. And it just started to feel so narrow. And soon after that, I got injured. Tore my shoulder for a couple months and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't train. I couldn't have a consistent routine. And suddenly I just didn't know who I was anymore. It felt like I lost such a major part of myself. I got so obsessed with self-improvement that when I got injured and couldn't work out anymore, I literally didn't know who I was. That's when I realized that I'd actually just made it my God. You know, if you weren't making progress and seeing visible routines, then you weren't really living. I built my entire sense of self into the person that was in front of the mirror. And when that finally got interrupted, nothing held, nothing was left. And like, honestly, self-improvement, it can help. It helped me at low points. It can give you language, structure, independence. But without discernment, it doesn't build self-trust, it just replaces it. If I was to go back from when I was 18 and look at self-improvement from a much more practical lens, this is what I would do. I'd wake up early, but if I needed to sleep in, I wouldn't feel guilty about it. I'd still read, but allow myself to watch other content and actually enjoy myself. I'd work out a couple times a week, but not over excess about trying to get 10,000 steps every day. And I treat it as a guidance and not instruction. You know, adopt slowly, integrate slowly, and question whether or not the things that you're actually doing are actually good for you. Now at 22 years old, self-improvement now is just a tool. It's no longer a pillar. Yes, I still read, I still work out, I do all these things, but I do it knowing that if that all went away today, that I still know who I am. The best thing that you can do for yourself if you're stuck in that path of self-improvement is take a break. Read fiction, live offline, you know, allow yourself to be bored. Learn how to unoptimize yourself. Not everything needs to be better. Some things are just meant to be lived in.